I want to share with you what we spoke about this morning. Trying to make it bekitzer. There's a ma'isa they say over from Chelm. There was a guy who really couldn't get his act together. He can never find himself. He woke up in the morning, he was looking for his shoes, looking for his keys, for his jacket, for his pants. He could never find himself. So he went to the Rav in Chelm and he asked him, he needs an eitzah. What should he do? So he told him, why don't you write down where you put things and then you'll be able to find it. He thought that was a wonderful idea. So he wrote down on a piece of paper where his left shoe was, where his right shoe was, where his jacket, where his keys, and the last thing on the paper he wrote, an almond bed. The next morning he woke up, it was a machaya, unbelievable. He woke up in the morning, he was able to find everything right away. He found his shoes, he found his jacket, and then he looked at the last thing, an almond bed. He's looking for himself, he couldn't find himself. He's looking. He got so frustrated. For 3 hours he couldn't find himself. So he goes running back to the Rav. He says, I came to you for help. It took me 2 hours to get out. Now after 3 hours I still couldn't find myself. So the Rav tells him there are people who are looking for themselves for a lot of years. 3 hours is not so bad. So what we spoke about, we wanted to talk about what does it mean? What does it mean to find yourself? What does it mean that I know who I am and where I am? In this week's parsha, we have the mitzvah of Arla. The first 3 years that plants grow, like by Zaraltem Arlas, that it, just like a baby has an Arla that you have to cut off. Over here too, the first 3 years the peiros are asur, and after 3 years you can start eating the peiros. The Shach al Torah says what's the idea behind Arla, and obviously he's not saying the Pashup Pshat. He seems to be saying Al Pi Drush. He says that Adam Arisha was created in Gan Eden, and he was given permission to eat from any of the Eitz Hagan, but the Eitz Hadas Toivera that he couldn't eat. And it was 3 hours before he ate from the Eitz Hadas. So for those 3 hours, we wait 3 years to be masakin that avera. The Medrash says could be after those 3 hours would have been Shabbos. It would have been mutter for him to take these grapes and squeeze them and drink it as wine. But he jumped the gun. But whatever it is, it's because of those, the Shach says, it's because of those 3 hours that we wait 3 years. There's a Mishnah in Arla, Perek Aleph Mishnah Vav. The Mishnah tells us that Arla is bottle 1 in 200, which means if you have an apple that from Arla and it falls into 199 apples, it's asur. However, if it falls into 200 apples, it's mutter. If you know where it is, then it's not bottle. If you don't know which one it is, then it's bottle. So what would be if you have 1,000 trees and one of them is Arla? You don't know which it is, so that should be a taruvis. It should be bottle. Yet the Mishnah says, no, you can't cut it. Because if you cut it, it's like mevatlin iser lachatchila. So you cannot cut the fruit off of that, any of the trees, and all 1,000 trees are off. So what happens if I cut it, now that it's mixed into 1 into 200, I don't know which it is, you could eat it. Asks Rashi, just like when it's cut off, it's mixed in. Why? Because I don't know where it is. I don't know which one is the Arla. So too when it's growing, the whole tree, I don't know which is the arla. So why is it usher for me to eat all 1,000 trees? Why don't you say that it's but 1 in 200? And Rashi says, a big yisoid that calls man, shebemekoymoi mechuber choshev v'loy batel. Anytime something is still attached to its roots, it's choshev and it's not going to be batel. Now this is a yisoid that we can borrow for everything in life. Let's start with children. Take a child, you uproot them, you put them in a foreign neighborhood, into a new school. It's very, very hard for that kid to exist, and they'll be batel. They'll get lost. However, if they have strong roots, they have parents, 2 healthy parents, Baruch Hashem, with shalom bayis, and they have where to come to, that's going to hold them. Because if they're attached to something, then they can make it through anything. But as soon as they cut themselves off, as soon as Chas Hashem, they're cut off from their source, then it's a numbers game. 1 in 200 is batel. The same thing comes for Yiddishkeit. We're living in a world that's asking us to change, that's pulling us to change. If we stay attached to our source, we thrive. Mechuber is lei batel. If not, Chas Hashem, a person is batel, gets lost. And even if it doesn't get lost right away, but over time, it gets lost. Somebody told me about 2 brothers that came over after the war. Nebuch, they both lost everybody. They were the only 2 left. They didn't have anybody from any sides of the family. Now, where they came from, they wore these funny big yarmulkes. And one of them bought himself a normal American-looking yarmulke. And his brother refused to take off the yarmulke. And he said, you look weird, you look funny. There's no mitzvah to look funny. And he refused to do it. 70 years later, the one that refused to take off the yarmulke, he has children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. Oiskim b'Torah b'mitzvahs. And the other one, Nebuch, has nobody. There's nothing wrong with taking off the yarmulke, but he was holding on to his roots. He was holding on to his shirish. Because once you start changing, there's no telling when you're mechuber to your shirish, to where you come from, then your cheshiva v'loy batel, like Rashi says. In 1989, the Dalai Lama summoned a group of Jews. He had a question for them. How is it that you keep your religion on foreign soil? They also have a native land, Tibet. They were exiled by the Chinese, and he said it's 1 generation later, and it looks like it's all getting lost. And the Jews are 0.25% of the population, and they're as strong as ever. And he wanted to know how we hold on to it. Now the truth is, if a person stays connected, the Reformed, the conservative tried telling us that if we don't conform, if we don't change, Judaism will be extinct. And yet the only thing that's extinct is Reformed and conservative, if anything. There's a Navi in Malachi, the very last Navi printed, in the very last parak. The Navi says, Ki ani Hashem lo shenisi, va'atem b'nei Yaakov lo chilisa. I'm HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't change. So if you're madbik yourself to me, atem adveikem b'Hashem lekechem chayim kolchem hayoyim, you won't get lost. You won't change. We're living in America in the 21st century, but yet we go into a different world. We go daven, we go learn. Shabbos, we're in our own world. So a person doesn't realize how important it is to keep focused and not to lose that connection. If a guy wakes up in the morning and the first thing he does is check his emails, he doesn't realize how much he's giving up. The Halacha in Shulchan and Siman Peites, the Halacha is that once it comes time to tefillah, you're not allowed to even walk across the Beis Medrash to say hello to somebody else. You can't do any of your tzrachim before Shabbat, before Shabbos. You can't eat, you can't drink. Why? Because the first thing I do is I go out of the world I'm in and I connect myself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then when I finish davening, turn to Siman Kuf Nun Hey, the first thing I do is I learn something. I learn before davening, how to eat the Torah. And if I do this, it says, Am Yelech Michayel Al Chayel, and it's a guarantee I'm going to see the Pnei Shechina. Now, even if somebody feels he has a lot of money to be made, still, nothing should stop him from learning, first davening and learning, or learning then davening. And with this, we keep ourselves attached to be Davak B'Kadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael V'Rayis B'Kadosh Baruch Hu Chadu. We keep ourselves connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and when we're connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we don't get lost. Why specifically out of all mitzvahs did Hazal pick the mitzvah of Arla to teach me, according to the Shachal HaTorah, that Arla, quoting from the Medrash, is to be mesak in the chait of Adam Arishan. What's the first thing HaKadosh Baruch Hu asked Adam after the chait? Ayaka, where are you? Because Kolzman we're living in Gan Eden. We're with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The second we're being kicked out, the second we did that Aveira, now you have to know how to find yourself. And how do I find myself? I find myself by being mistabek in my Creator. And my neshama is connected to the Kisei HaKavod. And when I hold on to that, then no matter where I am, I'm a chuber and I'm not batal. But if chas v'shalom I give up on that, then already the whole thing could be lost. And if we follow the advice of the Shulchan Aruch, that we go first to davening and straight to learning. Don't do anything else. Muftach loy that we're going to be mekabel pnei Shechina, and we should talk about zeichet mekabel pnei Shechina b'mher v'yameinu.